Who is ready for another top 10 Saturday? I was about to say Tuesday. It is Saturday. Who is ready for top 10 Saturday? Hello friends, happy Saturday. I'm so very excited that you are here. As the title of this video says, I am talking about my top 10 titles that released in 2022. But here's the thing, today's video is going to be a little bit different because I'm actually doing it with my friend, Geeks That Parent. We are collaborating, and for the next portion of this video, you're going to be seeing him and I chat about, like I said, our top 10 manga titles of this year. Now, I do want to say, technically this month, as you guys know, for the 25 days of manga, I've only been doing shoujo and josei titles, but as I warned in the very first video that I did or kicked off for this month, I am featuring, I think it was 2 different shonen titles, so bear with me because there's a lot of great titles that came out this year, including some shonen ones as well. So totally sit back, relax, come join me and Scott at Geeks That Parent as we talk about our top 10 manga of 2022.
Hey folks, welcome to a very special edition. I'm Scott with Geeks That Parent, and my co-host today,
Laura Acres, guys, so excited.
And today we are sharing with you guys our top 10 titles that came out either digitally or physically for 2022.
That was quite the challenge. I didn't realize how many good books came out just this year alone. I'm like, oh man, like who's gonna make the top 10? That was a struggle.
And one thing just to let you guys know as our viewers here is I don't know Laura's top 10. She doesn't know mine. So for this, we're going to actually start with our top 10 first, and then we'll share with you down the line and we'll see what made our best title for 2022.
I feel pretty confident in this one. I'm going to go with In the Clear Moonlit Dusk. I make sure I said that right because this series, or this volume specifically, really surprised me. It's about a young woman who has been dubbed the name Prince because she has very long legs. She looks not very feminine. She has a deeper voice, but she is indeed a girl, even though when people are like, oh, you're a girl? Like, I didn't know. And so this other Prince, who's actually a guy in the high school that they go to, he sort of forms an attraction towards her through a series of events, and they start to get to know each other, and he wants to show her, like, you can be a princess kind of thing. And that's basically this first volume. And what I loved about it, and I was like, it really needs to be on my top 10, is because I feel like it's so different for shoujo manga. Typically, we don't get a female character, I feel, that may have more masculine like qualities, and seeing her different struggles that she has where she doesn't have the long hair, and the way that people interact with her, and they're just, you're the prince, and she's not really wanting that necessarily, but that's what she's been called basically all of her life from her friends. And so when this prince, the masculine or the male guy Prince, comes in, she does not know how to act like a princess at all. So I feel like it takes different, I'll say different tropes, but I feel like it just presents a different story, where I just really loved how the main character, that she had interesting struggles that were different than I've seen, like I said, in other shoujo manga titles. And very excited that we finally have it in print, because I did read this digitally first for the first volume. I've already pre-ordered the next 3 or the next 2 volumes because I just could not get enough of it. The cliffhanger leaves you desperate for more, and seeing what is this Prince going to do. And especially when as she thinks about things and as the story continues, she decides to be brave. And it's like, okay, are you going to continue to be brave in this kind of decision making, or are you going to be like, I just want to go back to being the prince and not attempt to try and be this princess? It's very, very good, and highly recommend this one.
And that's just our top 10, folks. That is incredible.
I know.
You already sold me and I haven't read it, so that is awesome. So my number 10 is actually going to be Touring After the Apocalypse. This is a new title by Yen Press that came out earlier this year. It's a slice of life about these 2 girls that are, it's in the future. The apocalypse happens. Looks like just a natural disaster, but it looks like they may be the only 2 people around. And you see them as they're traveling over Japan, following in the footsteps of her older sister. it's neat just seeing them just move a little slower as they're interacting with each other and just going to these different places that used to be, and they're now, some of them are underwater, some of them are just depreciated, and it's fun seeing the two girls back and forth, and almost remind me a little bit like a Studio Ghibli film, but almost like in a book form. So I really appreciated for a newer slice of life to come out and having a little bit of sense of adventure. So that's my number 10, Touring After the Apocalypse.
I wish I would have pre-ordered that one because I saw it and it looked really good. And I was like, I don't know. But then hearing you share it, I've seen other people say that it's just really, really good.
All right, coming in at number 9, it's a one-shot title. This story actually originally came out in 1982, and it was the first time actually it was released in English this year in a beautiful hardcover edition, and this is Shuna's Journey. Now, this title actually is from Studio Ghibli. It's actually it's the only illustrated story that he did. So it's fully in color, and this, what I thought was really neat was getting a little peek behind the curtain of what Studio Ghibli was before Studio Ghibli came to be. So for the director to come out with before he was famous with all his different movies, he actually had this illustrated story that came out, and we just got it this November over in English. So it was a little weird and bizarre, but I just thought it was so beautiful. I love the different inspirations. While flipping through some pages, you could see some of the movies that it was inspired by. I'm sorry, the movies were inspired by the book. So for me, as a nice one shot and just the beautiful illustrations, I thought that was really neat for that to come out here. And I thought it was a beautiful one shot story that I recommend for anyone to check out.
I need to check that out, especially since I am behind on the Studio Ghibli hype train. I've only seen like two of the movies by Studio Ghibli, so I need to look into that.
Yeah, some of them are also great for children.
Okay, I finally saw Spirit Away, so I felt like I was winning last year because I saw it for the very first time. So I want to see in how was it Howl's Moving Castle? That's what I'm hoping to see next.
Have you seen Totoro?
I have not. I have not. I have not. You can take my anime fan card away. I'm so
Oh,
behind.
you have kids too. My kids love Totoro. They sing the songs, and there's a tree that grows, and they went in front of the TV without me asking, and they start going like this, trying to get the tree to grow, and
Oh,
it's a beautiful, beautiful movie.
I need to see if our library has that then.
Laura, do you want to share with us what is your number 9?
Yes, I am so excited. So I know that I am mainly featuring shoujo and josei on my channel this month, but I had to do this, and that is Blue Box. It was my most anticipated read for this year. Very much exceeded my expectations reading it physically because I read it on the Shonen Jump app. But basically, it centers around this character. His name is Taiki. He's a best boy. I know that's not what the blurb says, but he is best boy. Absolutely love him. But he is a badminton player, and he sees his upperclassman Shinizu. She plays basketball, and he's very much stirred by her love for basketball, how she just carries herself, and he starts having feelings for her. And through a turn of events, they get a lot closer. But is he going to work up the nerve to actually tell her his feelings, or is he just sort of going to, I guess, more or less not sit back, but he's not going to take that step forward? This first volume was everything I love in sports romance. It has this perfect blend of romance, sports, and the badminton aspect has been very much everything for me because I loved it growing up. So I've really enjoyed just all of the elements of this story and how it's just so compelling. Cannot wait for book 2 to release. So excited. Oh my goodness. I am so hyped for this one as well. And I'm going to say daily report about my witch senpai. There has been no other book that I have read as much as I've read this 2-volume series, though it is supposedly going to get a third volume in Japan. Hopefully we will get in the States. This is a josei series that is very wonderful. It looks very cute and very sweet, but it has some really great underlying elements. But the story centers around the main guy, Misono, who is he calls himself an office drone. He works at this office place and he sees his, not upperclassman, I'm trying to think of the word. What is the word? She is what is it? Senpai, there we go. He sees his senpai, Shizuka. She is a witch, and she basically does any errand that anybody asks of her. She goes on her broomstick, runs herself ragged, and he is like, no, you shouldn't be doing all this. And so he's sort of questioning, is he saying that because he cares for her in a romantic way, or is it because she is his senpai? This story was so strongly recommended to me, and I will just strongly recommend it here. It's like I said, it has these very sweet elements. The romance is perfection. That doesn't say much, but it's very sweet. It's a slow burn, but also it has just this these deep layers that are very thought-provoking and makes it so much more than like a romantic comedy in The Office. And the magical element just really enhances everything with the romance, and I was almost say politics. This is not Yona of the Dawn. um, and the office workspace and having other coworkers around them. It was very much a big surprise for me, because I don't typically read witch stuff or with manga with witches in it, but it's so wonderful of a story that I love it. Like I said, I've read this manga 5 times, and I didn't even know where I should put it on this list of top 10, because it's just that amazing, that good.
All right, and my number 8 is a newer title where actually I did not like the first volume, but because I pre-ordered the other 2 volumes that came out, I was like, I might as well keep reading, and it ended up growing on me. And for some reason, the second volume, it clicked, and that was The Elusive Samurai. So this title is actually from the same author that made The Assassination Classroom, which I watched the anime. It was really good. I haven't read the manga, but I heard the anime is almost to the T of the manga. So for that said, I stick with the anime. But this was actually really good. It reminded me a little bit like Demon Slayer, but without the slaying of demons, but just the banter back and forth with the different characters and following them on their journey. You have this young future prince that he's elusive in the sense that he is constantly running and hiding from his enemies or hiding from work, and it's actually has become a skill because he's so good at getting away from people. So this story follows where he's supposed to be taking over this province, and then the lovely hero of the story ends up turning bad and ends up betraying his entire family, and now he's the only one left as a heir and has to flee away, and you're slowly watching as he's trying to now figure out how to get his kingdom back. So it's just neat seeing him, join these other people who that's where it reminds me of Demon Slayer, the different people who come join him as they're now his companions as they're moving towards of how to be able to slowly build things and get to where he was before everything got taken away.
I should try volume 2, because I wasn't sold on volume 1, despite that is a cover by manga cover for volume 1.
Yes, I wasn't sold on number 1, but number 2 it clicked.
Okay. Okay. That's good. That's good to hear. I'm glad.
All right, so for my number 7, this is actually a webtoon that came out in hardcover or paperback, which is a bit surprising to me. This is one I hadn't heard of before, but I wanted to check out, and it's called Tower of God. Now, this story follows this character named Bam, and he follows this girl who's a friend, and she ends up disappearing in this tower, and he just has this desire to find her. And lo and behold, there's just so much mystery in the story. Some reason Bam is able to open a door that people aren't able to open, and he starts climbing this tower, and there's so much mystery of what's at the top of the tower, what's the point of this tower, why do certain people who are considered chosen are able to open the door and go through this tower. So it's I was sucked into the mystery. I want to know what's going to be at the top of that tower. If I collect it physically, I'm kind of sad because the next volume doesn't come out till summer next year.
Oh.
But it's in full color, and if you're looking, this is one I can actually also recommend probably for a little bit younger readers. So if they're 11 or 12 plus, this is one that they could check out as well. But yeah, I want to know what's on that top of that tower, and I just thought they did such a great job with the mystery and that hook where you just kept wanting more.
I literally picked that up at Walmart the other day, and I wish I would have taken it home. I am sold. That sounds so good. For my number 7, I hope it's just as exciting as yours. I'm gonna do Imakoi, Now I'm in Love. This shoujo series released from Shoujo Beat, and it has been everything for me. It instantly, after I read the first volume, made it to my top 10 right away, and I have just continued to love it. It is about our main girl, Satomi. When she was in middle school, she had a crush on another person. She really wanted to confess her feelings to him, but she never worked up the nerve. So she told herself, when I get in high school, I'm going to confess. And this guy, his name's Yagyu, he helps her out of a very uncomfortable situation, and she decides she's going to confess. She does. He said, well, why don't we more or less date? And now she's in this relationship and she has no idea what to do. And that's part of why I really love this series, because I feel like in shoujo manga you often see women who know exactly what they want from the relationship. They know where they want it to go, and Satomi's like, I just really like this guy and I have no idea what I want to do. And that is their story. And it's been very beautiful, very cute. He is everything in this series, like very much Team Yagyu, but I have loved seeing the relationship unfold, specifically in this first volume. It is very beautiful and a very, very precious series that I'm so glad that Shoujo Beat decided to print this year. For my number 6, I'm really excited to feature this one because it has an upcoming anime, and that's the Ice Guy and his cool female colleague. I love this story so very much. I read it when I had no heat this past summer, or no heat. I read it when I had no AC this past summer. It was so very timely. It centers around our main guy. His name is Timuro, and I believe he's either the descendant of the Snow Queen or a snow spirit in Japanese folklore. And basically, when he feels any kind of emotions, like more than just neutral, it comes out in ice, snow, snowmen, whatever happens, especially when it involves his very cool coworker, Yutsi, I think is how you say her name, but his coworker. Anytime she's around, he is like, absolutely, there's snow going to be involved and ice going to be involved. It is such a wholesome office rom-com. I'm very excited about the anime. Every chapter, I'm just living for Himuro to see what he's going to do. He's going to feel some kind of emotion. How is it going to come out in the form of snow or ice? And how the cool senpai here is going to handle it, because it is just so very precious. And very, very much looking forward to this anime. It was an unexpected gem for me this year. Very, very good.
It sounds like if Elsa from Frozen worked in an office.
Yes, yes, you could definitely say that. Though I feel like it'd be a little bit hard because Olaf's super cute, but the snowman in this series is super cute too. But Olaf is very, very special though.
That's no, I've never heard of this one, so I want to check this out now.
I hope you enjoy it.
Yes, my number 6 is we actually have a crossover. It's our first, and it's actually Blue Box.
Yes.
So I agree with everything that you said. I fell in love with the characters immediately. I love how the boy likes this girl that's just completely out of his league, and through a series of different events, it helps. There's this potential that they end up, spending more time together. But what I loved about Blue Box the most was the two characters were pushing to help each other become better. There's a lot of time where you see series where one person's dragging the other person down, or you have a series where one person's having to help build that other person up. And I thought Blue Box, they're just so complementary, where they care deeply about each other, just on when it comes to their sports, their attitude. And even if we don't know if they're going to get together or not, I did love that idea that, hey, how can I help? I'm going to help encourage you. And then for the other person, I'm going to encourage them. So I just thought that was just so beautiful, just to piggyback from everything you already said. I don't know anything about badminton and learned quite a bit. And I think there's something special where you're not really big into the sport, but because of how powerful the characters are, you want to keep reading the story. So because of that, my number 6 is Blue Box.
That is so well said. Yes, I also second that. I'm so glad it was on your list too. I'm so glad it was on your list and you shared that.
All right, folks, we're now in our top 5. So, the rest are just garbage. I'm just kidding. But yes, our top 5. And to kick us off, this is a title that has been out in Japan for a very long time. This is one of those series that on my anime list has been in the top 50, and I think there's always something special about a series that is so well loved, even though it's never gone an English release. So I was so happy when Seven Seas announced, and I was actually surprised that this title even came out. It's actually on my list of titles that I was always hoping would be in English, and that is Yokohama Kadashi. This series, this is a slice of life. It's about a robot who has a coffee shop, and I don't know why, but for a good slice of life, I fell in love with the characters. As you're just it takes place in the future. It looks like there has been a bit of some sort of apocalypse in the sense of just natural disasters that have happened. So the roads are now have rising sea levels, and it's neat. You're seeing the robots and humans kind of live in harmony together, and the humans are treating the robots like they're humans, and the robots kind of, for the most part, act human, where you almost wouldn't sure that they're a robot. But it was it felt very wholesome of a series, and I was I could see why, for a slice of life, why it's just so well loved in Japan, and I'm just so happy that they went and they brought this one over.
That's a really good one. I have definitely seen a lot of people, like I said, that have really loved the series. They've read it before, they've seen it before, and they've desperately wanted it, and we're so glad it came to the States. For my number five, it's sort of similar because apparently a lot of people read the scans of this and now it's available thanks to Yen Press, and that is No Longer Heroine. I was a little bit iffy on this series originally. I was actually very iffy because of the negative reviews, but I was like, this needs to be in my top five because it surprised me. And it's not your typical shoujo manga, in my opinion, but it centers around this main girl who says she is the heroine of this love story, and her best friend, her childhood best friend, his name's Rita, is the hero of the love story. But the thing is, he doesn't even know he's the hero of her supposed love story. And she's like, he'll never date any other girl but me, but she's never confessed her feelings, never said anything. Sure enough, he starts dating another girl, and she's really angry and really upset. And it sort of leads her to be like, I want him to know, but there's a lot of drama in this one, and it's supposed to be more of a parody, I guess, in shoujo manga. It has a lot of references to other series, and the expressions, the art is absolutely hilarious. And what I feel like makes this shoujo manga very different is because typically I feel like when I read shoujo manga, you have a heroine that you very much look up to, you admire, her decisions are really great. Not so for this heroine. She's willing to do whatever she needs to do, not in a mean way, but she definitely is not the nicest of characters. She's nice to the other person, this other girl, but it is a very funny, unique series that if you're like, I don't want fluffy, lighthearted shoujo, I want shoujo manga with a heroine that's gonna make things relatable for the wrong reasons. It's a very fun and just unique series that I am like, I am here for this. I have the next volume on pre-order as well.
I feel like after we're done, I now need to check out the series.
It's so good. Like, I'll show you
You
this real
sold
quick.
me.
I can't believe so many people dislike this, but I'm like, she's just relatable for the wrong reasons. Like her jealousy that she has. I'm like, these are things you don't want to see in shoujo manga, but I'm glad that it's being shown. It's
They need to quote that from you. Relatable for all the wrong reasons.
that's why I'm like, I feel like that's why people don't like it. I'm like, oh, I was like, I thought certain things she does. I'm like this is high school me right here. Like, it's really,
Oh,
really good.
I love that.
For my number four, I'm technically going to do a manhwa, and we're just going to go with it. And that is Why Rayliana Ended Up at the Duke's Mansion, I believe is the title, the full title of that. Oh my goodness, this manhwa super surprised me. I got it over the summer and I binge read it so fast. Like once I started, that was it. It's about this main girl. I think she's in college, and she suddenly gets just pushed off this roof and ends up as this character in this book. And she's like, what is going on? And she knows that in this story that she read, she's actually supposed to be one of the characters that dies. And of course, she's like, I'm not going to let this happen because, that's just how it goes. She decides she's going to go after the Duke. His name is Noah. And she's sort of manipulating the situation, but not really, because what she wasn't prepared for is Noah is very sneaky and he's just as manipulative. So she presents a deal of sorts. She's like, I know information. If you marry me, get me out of this mess, because then she won't die from her supposed fiance. She can have her happy ending. But as it goes in fiction, things are never quite that easy. Never quite that easy.
Fiction
Ray
or
Leanna,
real life?
or real life, yes, or real life. Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? Ray Leanna is a phenomenal and amazing heroine. She's very funny. She's very witty. She's very smart. And I was just so surprised how much humor was in this first volume. It very much surpassed any expectations that I had. I thought it'd just be a fun, colorful, because it's all in color. So I just thought it'd be a nice eye candy kind of story, but it goes so much deeper. Really love the characters. Noah is something else. And these two, when they come together, I'm like, who is going to be the winner in these conversations, in these moments? Because they're very analytical in many ways, but there's humor that goes in with it. And she's like, I can't believe that actually worked. And it just happens to sometimes go like that. I have read this. I spit my tongue. I bit my tongue. I have read the second volume and very much enjoyed it as well. And it's one that just, I feel like anytime a new volume comes out, it's going to surprise me. It is very, very good, and very excited for the anime that's coming out next year.
And I'm another title I believe I'm going to now be purchasing after our video.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. And it has more, if you like fantasy too, it has more fantasy elements that pop up in the second volume.
Oh, yes, you've sold me. My number 4 came out in the January this year, so there's 4 volumes out right now. It's one of the probably more popular shonen series that come out, and this is Sakamoto Days. This story is about an ex-assassin who's now overweight and is a convenience clerk. He found the love of his life and gave away the profession of assassin, but unfortunately his past comes back to haunt him in ways that sometimes are entertaining, hilarious, also action. But it's, as you see, the more cast members come join to now work at the convenience store, as well as different scenarios of him trying to be assassinated from his past. This is just, it's been funny, it's been entertaining, and I'd say it's probably one of the, for a Shonen Jump title, this is probably one of the better ones that's come out within the last year. So for my number 4, if you have not checked it out yet, my daughter who's 11 who's been reading it as well, and she is thoroughly enjoying it. But just because, not necessarily the action, but just the humor and the writing has just been just so entertaining and just funny. And so because of that, that's my number 4, Sakamoto Days.
Well, I am sold on that, and I need to see if my library has it, because I've been on the fence and I am sold, especially if your 11-year-old daughter loves it as well. I need to get up on it.
All right, we are now to the top 3. This is supposedly the best of the best. And this story, I will say my top 3, I struggle. I could probably maybe put these in and, flip the order depending on the day. But this series just gripped me so much where I was dying to find out what's next. The first 3 volumes are out in America. This series actually came out in Japan a while ago, so it was a new title to be released in English. People say that Squid Games end up getting inspiration from this story, and the live action season 1 is on Netflix, and this is Alice in Borderland. What I appreciate about this series, a story a long time ago I started reading, and I actually had to close it because it was too much for me, was Battle Royale. This has some of that feelings of the survival of these people who are in this game. They're not sure how they got there. They're not sure why they have to play these games. But in these games, it is where, unfortunately, not everyone lives, sort of like Squid Games. And you're seeing, so there's just so much mystery behind the games are intense. And as soon as I finished the first volume, I ran and grabbed the second one. I had to keep reading. So I always love stories that grip you in a way where you want to keep reading it. So because of that, I'm fascinated to find out what happens in this story. And I mean, it is definitely not for kids. It's a lot more mature, but it wasn't as extreme as Battle Royale, which I did appreciate that I could stomach this a lot more. But I'm thoroughly engaged to find out and hopefully unravel the mystery on how they got there and who is actually running and organizing these games that they're trying to survive.
I have heard a lot of good things about that series, and I did not know that Squid Games was sort of maybe like low key inspired by that series. That's really, really
It's
interesting
it's
to
a
hear.
it's a rumor, and
It's a rumor.
I might be pushing that rumor even more.
I have thought about trying that series, but I haven't finally decided if I will try it or not. But I can say, going in for my number three, that this is a series I'm so glad that I tried as well. And that is Miss Miyazan Would Love to Get Closer to You. This is the most sweetest and wholesome shonen manga I have ever read. I must do a huge shout out to my friend Shay at Shay Geeks Out. She's the only person I know who has read this series. Well, I know a few more now, but at the time she was the only person. And it's about these two high schoolers who are such a precious little beings, so adorable. But Miyazan is a prim and proper princess, supposedly. She's very elegant. While you have our hero who is rough around the edges. He was known to beat people up in middle school, and they both are just drawn to each other. They want to get to know the other person, but they're like just their nervous, awkward little selves. And as they try to come closer, they just say things that make them blush or just that are just awkward. And it's very, very cute. There's not a lot there in the sense like maybe nothing's groundbreaking, but just seeing the cute awkwardness of their romance and how they're just like, I just want to do something to get closer to them. So they decide like, I'm going to try shoujo manga or I'm going to try Yakuza movies, and their everyday conversations of just attempting to get closer. It is very, very wholesome, very precious, and it very much surprised me this year because I'm like, nobody's talking about it and it's so adorable. And I have the rest of the series on pre-order because it's just one the same exact way where I'm like, I need more. I need to know what happens. I'm bummed it's only 4 volumes, but the romance is very slow burn, but it's been so cute. It's just so cute. I'm like, I read it and I giggle and I laugh and I smile and I just feel so happy after I read this series. It's so good. It's so good. We're coming in for number two, and usually I have a rule that I must have reread a volume at least twice before I can actually say it's a favorite. But this series, the manga community is like, Laura, you need to read it, and I finally read it, and that is the Savior's Book Cafe story in Another World. If you were looking for an isekai that is just fantastic, this is it. It's about Tsukina, I believe it's her name. She's a 30-year-old office worker. She's pretty happy with her life, but this orb, who supposedly is God, comes to her and says, hey, I want you to be this savior in this other world. And she's like, no, thank you. I'm very happy with where I'm at. And he's like, well, I could give you this, this, and this. And she's like, no, like, I don't want to do it. And he's like, well, I'm going to force you to do it. And she's like, fine. What are you going to give me in exchange, more or less? And he said, I'll give you basically any wish that you want. And so she wishes to have a book cafe in this other world and have the ability with anything bookish related in this world. And it is so good because of that right there, that she goes into this world, creates her dream book cafe, and just lives sort of a happy life. Granted, I haven't read past volume one, and there's events that lead me to believe it's not going to be all sunshine and roses, so to speak, but there is a knight that comes in. He's Mr. Prince Charming, though he's not a prince, but it just, I don't know. There was something so special about this story that was so magical and so warm that I'm like, you're living out a dream I didn't realize was actually a dream of my own. And so it's like you're able just to live through her and see what would it be like if we could just have our own book cafe where she just magically creates food. She's able to basically bring any book into this cafe. And it was just such an unexpected gem for me. And I'm glad that the manga community was like, Laura, you need to read it. You need to read it. You need to read it. Because I caved because the manga community was like, you need to read it. So I definitely feel it's on the number two. Like, even though I haven't reread it, it has been so memorable in my mind and a story that I've really, really enjoyed. I have the rest of the series on pre-order and owned and cannot wait to see where it goes next. And hopefully things will be okay for Tsukina in this world and that the book cafe stays safe and nothing bad happens.
Oh, this is another one I've never heard of, and I really like isekai stories, so it's one I'll have to check out. Mine number two. Now, this series is finished in Japan. It was in digital jail for a long time from Kodansha, and somehow Seven Seas paid the bail and let it out. The first 3 2-in-1 volumes have come out, and this is Tokyo Revengers. Now, I've heard a lot of people don't like the ending. I don't know anything about the ending. I don't want to know anything about the ending, but I am enjoying the journey so far, and that's why it's made my number two. It's about this boy who didn't really make much of his life. He's all grown up now. And while watching TV, he finds out the only girlfriend he ever had just recently died and was killed. And somehow he meets up with her younger brother. And for some reason, there's this magical, I guess, where he's actually able to go back in time 12 years to being a junior higher. And his idea now is he's trying to figure out how does he save this girl who he had a crush on. He hated junior high, and that's something I relate to. I was miserable when I was a junior higher, but now he's trying to make changes in his life, and not necessarily for himself for the better, but how do I save this girl? So it's neat just trying to figure out how that's going to happen. And then you find on the way, like any type of time travel, that even when you make changes, sometimes things actually get worse, not better. And then when you think you finally felt like you resolved the story, oh, it's actually this still happens. So the artwork is really good. It's one of those few ones where some of the full panels, when you flip through, I was just memorized on how it went. The dialogue is really good, and I want to know more. So I think part of one thing is the journey. Like, I know a lot of people don't like the ending of Attack on Titan, but if I enjoy the journey to the ending, I'm not gonna not I might bring a notch down because of the ending. So, but I don't know anything, and because of that, I'm gonna keep my heart happy. And because of that, I just phenomenal, sucked into the story, very gripping. So that's my number 2, Tokyo Revengers.
I actually have that volume thanks to a friend, and I need to apparently read it. I need to read it now.
Okay, folks, we are now down to number 1. This is our number 1 for this year. And just as a friendly reminder, there are many things that we have not read yet. There are certain things that just may have not even come out. When we're recording this, The Boxer has not been released. That's releasing later on this month. I pre-ordered Summertime Rending in hardcover, so because of that, I haven't read that one yet. So it's very possible that this list could change. And I'm sure if I can get Laura again, we may be able to do this in the spring once we've read additional titles, and I have read many of her titles. I'm sure we might have some more crossovers for our top 10. But my number 1 is another sports manga, and what I actually don't really know much on the sport, nor do I care much about this sport, even though I know a lot of people are diehard fans. But when a manga makes you care about a sport, I think there's something special to that. And this one, what I love is it reminds me again, like Squid Games is Battle Royale, except for people aren't killing each other. But this is Blue Lock. I got just so the first 3 volumes are out. The 4th one's coming out soon, but I just fell in love with the main character and the different characters. The artwork is phenomenal. It breaks down different things in soccer. Like, I didn't know what a hat trick was, but now I know that's scoring 3 points. But now when I've heard other references of people saying they're making a hat trick, I now know what they're talking about. But it really good story. You just can't help but root for each character, and you actually feel a little bit of sadness with some of the characters when they don't make it. So even in the beginning, I was shocked at some of the people who ended up not making it to the next round. So I'm just so, you just can't help but root for them. And this is a story that if it wasn't for some of the language, I actually could see this being one that could be actually for younger audiences. But because of that, it's probably geared towards probably 16 plus because of some of the language. But other than that, it's I'm just so sucked in. I cannot wait to find out what happened. It's one of the few stories, as soon as I get an order of manga come in, it's the first thing I'm searching for, and I read it right away. And so because of that, that's my number 1 is Blue Lock.
I love that. And I can relate to for my number 1 as well, where it's like, I didn't care for this. I'm not a big political reader. Like, I don't know. That's just not my thing. But my number 1 is a political romance, I guess you would say, fantasy, and that is The Remarried Empress. Technically, this is a manhwa, but this story I went on Webtoons. I binge read it in 2 days, which is something I've never done. There's almost like 200 episodes. And then I promptly went and pre-ordered the physical copy because I just adore this story. There is something so engaging about it. Like you said, it makes you care for things that you're like, I didn't care about this otherwise. I mean, I don't really have a necessary example because of the politics aspect, but the main woman, Navier, I think is how you say her name, is so amazing, and she is married to this emperor. I don't know how to say his name. He has a horrible nickname in the webtoon community, which I will say is rightfully deserved, but that's for another day. But she is the empress. They are married, and anyway, things are going great. People are like, they are a fantastic couple. They're very strong. They love each other very, very much. But then one day, the emperor goes on a hunting trip, and he is absolutely smitten with this runaway slave, supposedly, who's not, but she technically is, and smitten with her. And he ends up telling Navier, the main girl or the main heroine, that he would like a divorce. And she says, "Okay, we can have a divorce, but I want you to accept my remarriage to a man of my choice," which just mind blows everyone there. And that is the gist of the story. It is so wonderful. I never expected that I would just eat up the politics that are going on and just either really love characters or really hate characters, because it's just two opposite spectrums, but everyone is so engaging, has these very interesting backstories. And Navier, when you see the hurt that she is, the betrayal that she feels, like you just want to give her a bear hug. And also, not only that, but she really is so elegant in her actions. And I just admire how she's able to handle the situation, because I'm like, that guy needs to be thrown out in the trash. Like, just both of them, not Navier, but the other girl. It is a very phenomenal story. And I never, ever expected I would say it's my number one just because of the politics, but I'm here for it. I want more of it. And I cannot wait to see that guy, that emperor, be taken down, and that Navier becomes so very happy in the upcoming volumes.
Oh, I'm a little embarrassed now. I was at the Yen press panel when they announced this title, and I wasn't interested at all. But
Really?
now I have to get this.
Well, it's funny. I wasn't either. I was like, no, I have all of the ones that they mentioned. This was the one I was like, I don't want that. But then a friend's like, I think you should check it out. And I was like, you know what? I've got some time on my hands. I checked it out, and like I said, 2 days, I binge read it, and I was like, what do I do with my life right now? I've just completed this amazing series, and I'm not ready for it to be over.
That's all. So, folks, that is our top 10 for 2022. In the comments below, we'd love to hear what are your thoughts on our top 10. What is your top 10? Also, let us know where we are wrong. We'd love to know that. But we are so excited, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and we'll be doing this again potentially in the spring if things have shifted in our top 10s. So
Yes.
For that said, I'm Scott with Geek Set Parent.
And I'm Laura A. Grace. I don't have a channel name, so I didn't know what to say. So I was like, should I say I'm Laura A. Grace or Laura A. Grace? So.
Well, there you have it, folks. Thank you so much for watching.